Okay, so now we're continuing where we left off. So we're on number 16. Remember that this part's a duplicate of this part, and we usually fill in the part with the numbers so we can cross out the top. This part shows that you're given xy is 50, and this is your figure. So this one gives you a whole lot of multiple choice options. You have 11 options just for one blank. So that's why this one, you kind of need to know what you're doing for this. So x, y, which is the whole thing, is equal to xz plus zy. That's going to be segment addition. Segment addition. You don't have to write it. You can find it. It takes a while. It's right there. So that's segment addition postulate. The next thing we're doing is we're going from, your xz to 2 times n plus 4, which is what it represents. So that's going to be substitution. So find where it says substitution. So that's right there. Now the next one you're doing 2 times n and 2 times 4 to get 2n plus 8, so that'd be distributive. Distributive is right there. And from there we're doing 2n plus 5n is 7n. That's combined like terms. Combine like terms. So that's over here. Combine like terms. And from there you're subtracting 8 because you're going from 50 to 42. So that's subtraction. And the last one you're going from 42 to 6 and from 7n to n, so you're dividing by 7. So that's division. So here's division. So again, that was segment addition, substitution, distributive, combine like terms, subtraction, and division. You don't have to write these because there's no blanks where you had to fill in things like you do for some other problems. Okay, so that was number 16. Any questions about that? Number 17. Okay, on 17 it says a person defines a right angle as an angle with a smaller measure than a straight angle. Now, how that would make sense in a way is if you remember a right angle is 90 and a straight angle is 180. But the difference is right in between there is obtuse. So it's not a good definition, and all 4 of them say it's not a good definition. Now, what we need to look for is when it says a counterexample would be obtuse or even acute. And so this says or acute and obtuse. Counterexamples are acute and obtuse. So those are our 2 remaining choices because of being in between. The next part, if we look at C, it says the biconditional statement if an angle is a right angle. By the way, that's not a biconditional statement, that's just a conditional statement. So that's why C is wrong. D says an angle is a right angle if and only if, which is what we want. So if and only if it's smaller than a straight angle. And so, again, it could have just been A and D because of the if and only if, and it could have just been C and D because of the counterexample being obtuse. So in this case, it's D. Now, that problem was fine, but when I hit print for your review 2, on the review 2, it mentions reflex angle, and we didn't go over that because that's not something we usually go over, basically. So the answer for that one is A. So that's number 5. Bless you. Number 5 on your review 2 is A. Number 5 on review 2 is A. Basically, it says statement is not a good definition. The biconditional is an angle is a straight angle if and only if it has a greater than obtuse. A counterexample is a reflex angle. And we don't usually talk about reflex angles, so we're just going to skip that one and not have it on the test. Okay, so on the review it's D, and on review 2 it's A. Any questions? Okay, number 18. Assume that these statements are true. If Anna's drinking juice, then it's breakfast. If it's breakfast, then Julio's drinking milk and nothing else. If it's dinner, Sam is drinking water and nothing else. If it's afternoon, Kira's drinking milk and nothing else. And then it tells you Anna's drinking juice. So from that spot, we find where it says Anna is drinking juice, which is up here. And we know that that means it's breakfast time. And then the breakfast time is also right here. So the conclusion we know is that Julio's drinking milk and nothing else. Now, what's a little weird about this one is it's not even asking about that. It's saying, what about this, it's afternoon? So the afternoon part doesn't relate to this, and so it's not true because it contradicts the true statement, because we know it's really breakfast time. So that contradicts a true statement. Okay, number 19. So here's your 4 statements, and it says P to Q. So we know that we're not going to include R and S, and so it's just going to talk about linear pair and supplementary angles. Okay, now the other thing is it's going from P to Q, so it's like if the front, then the back. So if they're a linear pair, then they're supplementary. So it's not A. There's linear, there's supplementary, here's linear, there's supplementary, and here's supplementary. So at this point we know for sure that it's not A or D. Right? Now, since it has a P to Q like that, then again what we're saying is it means if P, then Q. If, then. So it's going to be B. The reason why it's not C is because it says if and only if. So that would be represented by P with both arrows and Q. So if it said P and then the arrow both directions in Q, then it'd be the if and only if. Alright? So 19 is B. Any questions? Okay. Then the next page is this problem where we say 4x equal y and 4x plus this angle, 4x plus x plus y plus 18 equal 180, and then this one, x plus y plus 18 plus y equal 180. So remember, whenever you see this, and there are 3 like that on the review, that you'd have to set up all 3 equations, then use your logic as to which one you should use. Now, this one's set up perfectly for solving by substitution. So we have y equal 4x. So you can either plug that in here once or here twice. And so I'm going to plug it into this one. 4x plus x is 5x, and then y is really 4x plus 18 equal 180. So now 4x and 5x adds up to 9x, and you subtract 18 from both sides to get 162, and then you divide and you get 18. So x is 18. Now for the next part, we want what y is, and so we know it's the same as 4x, so we need to do 4 times 18, and that's 72. So the y is 72. So what that means is y degrees is also 72, and so is 4x. So these two are the same. Now for these two, remember that they have to be supplementary to these. So one way to do it is to do 180 minus 72, which is 108. The other way is to do 18 plus 72 plus 18. So basically 90 plus 18 is 108. So however you work it out, these two should be the same in this problem. Remember, sometimes it's these two that are the same, sometimes it's those two that are the same, or sometimes it's these two that are the same. But you will have two answers that are the same, and then the other two are going to be the same. Any questions? Okay. Then 21, it may look a little complicated, but there's actually a very easy way to know the answer for this one. And since we want it to be a biconditional, that means it has to be true both ways. And so it's going to be the one where you have your x answer and a linear equation. So x answer and linear equation. To talk more about that, remember that the absolute value function is like that, where you'd have a positive and a negative. And so we can't assume that part. This part, if you have x squared equal 4, it could either be positive 2 or negative 2. So that's not the answer. This problem with x cubed equal 4, the problem is we know 4 cubed is 64, but if you reverse it, what's another way to get 64? 8 squared, or 8 times 8. And so that's why it can't be C. And so basically that just rules out all the choices. So you're always going to want the one that has if some number, then some equation. Because if you plug it in, then it works to 31. And if you just solve, you get 18. And so that works both ways. So it may look complicated, but that's actually one of the easier ones. Any questions? Okay. 22 is like that other one with 5 true statements. It says if Rob is drinking juice, then it's dinner time. If it's lunchtime, Mario is drinking iced tea and nothing else. If it's dinner time, Kira is drinking coffee and nothing else. If it's breakfast time, Anna is drinking iced tea and nothing else. And it tells you Rob is drinking juice. So you find the part about Rob, which is the first part, drinking juice, then it's dinner time. So then we find the dinner time part. So what we know is that Kira's drinking coffee and nothing else. So we know that it connects A to C. So the A to C is called the syllogism part, and the E is called the detachment part, because it's not an if-then statement, it's just separate. So let's see. Determine if Kira is drinking coffee must, may, or is not true. So since we say Kira is drinking coffee and nothing else, then it must be true. So you can either write must or just choose it. Must be true. And then you choose the top one with the law of syllogism, and it's going to be from A to C, and then the detachment from E. Okay, so that's basically A, C, E. So the A and C are the syllogism parts, and the E is the detachment part. Okay, number 23. This is talking about the transitive property of falling dominoes. So if domino A causes B to fall, and then B causes C to fall, then the net result is A caused C to fall. So you can choose C or put C in the blank. And then the transitive property is if A equals B, B equals C, then A equals C. So that's this one. Any questions about that? So we basically have dominoes, and when this one's pushed, then this one falls, which makes this one fall, and so basically A caused C to fall. Okay, number 24. This says angle 1 is 2x, and angle 2 is y, and angle 3 is 84. So again, what we do is we set up our equation 2x equal 84, so x is 42. And to get the other part, the easiest way is just do 180 minus 84 and get 96. So 96 is what y is. Any questions? Okay. Now 25. This one is another set of vertical angles. And so we have x plus 13 equal to 5x minus 39. So at this point, 5x is bigger than x, so we're going to subtract x. So we get 4x minus 39. Then we're going to add 39, so we get 52 is 4x. 52 equal 4x. So then we divide by 4, and so we get 13. So 13 is this answer. Then when you do 13 plus 13, you get 26, and the other is supposed to be the same thing. So if you do 5 times 13 minus 39, you should also get 26. Okay, so now we're done with this review. Make sure you do your homework review also, which is the review 2. So the review 2 is homework, and your test is Monday.